Hey everybody, welcome back to BigRedEDC, and welcome back to this edition of JB on EDC. Now, on the last video, I talked about, what was my favorite slip joint to carry, what type of slip joint, all that good stuff. Well, FW Rose asked on that video about seeing a video on my Marlin spike collection. Now, I've shown several Marlin spike knives here and there and everywhere, but I don't think I've done an actual these are my Marlin spikes type video. So these are my Marlin spikes. So, but no, I use a Marlin spike knife quite often at work. To be perfectly honest with you, a Marlin spike knife, I can't say a single one, but one of this type of knife is probably as close to a literal EDC, everyday carry knife, as I come. Now, like I said, I carry some more than others, absolutely. We'll kind of get into why here in a little bit, but even though they don't get the love that all the, fancy new knives and slip joints and everything else, the new flashlights, they don't get that love. And really they should, because they are. And now, why do I carry a Marlin spike knife? Again, I've talked about this frequently, but if you're new to the channel, I work as a crane rigger. I tie back a lot of loads. So that's why I carry a knife. But in rigging loads and connecting to a crane and delivering loads, we use shackles all the time, and sometimes shackles, they tighten up. And a Marlin spike is really a perfect shackle key for getting a shackle undone if it gets too tight and you just can't do it by hand, or you just need to pop it to break it open. A Marlin spike does the trick 100%, and that's why I always have one on me at work. Now, I already said I carry some of these a little bit more than others. One that doesn't get carried as much as the rest of them is this one. This is a Rough Rider. Let's see, I forget the number, guys. I have to look. That is the, 576. The reason this one doesn't get carried as much is because the lock has broken. And I think it was like that when I got it. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't remember. Now, I'll tell you this too. A lot of these knives have been given to me by some very, very generous and awesome people. I'm gonna forgo naming names just because I know I'm gonna get one wrong somewhere, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad. So I'm just gonna say, you know who you are. You've given me these knives. I've used these knives. These knives come in extremely handy in work, and I am extremely, extremely grateful. But like I said, the lock on this one is, now, does it still work? Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. I mean, the blade is still good. Yes, the spring is a little weak on this one. So there's just a couple reasons why this one doesn't carry it. If I feel like carrying a red one every once in a while, sure, I'll pop it in my pocket just so it gets some use. Or I'll carry it in this sheath right here because, well, it does fit in there rather nicely. So that will go in that one. And this one gets sheath carried by this awesome, awesome sheath made for me by the wonderful and awesome Joe over there at Lancelot Leather. It's got some wear on it, baby. It is fantastic. Now, I know I've talked about getting another sheath made for a couple of these other ones. These are also Rough Riders. It's a Camillus, by the way. For some reason, this one is kind of my favorite. I honestly can't tell you why, but it's probably the one that gets carried the most. And, well, for the one reason, it fits in that sheath, and two, this one fits in the sheath as well, but it locks. And it's got a strong lock on it. But this is the Rough Rider. It's a Denimicarta. It's a 2643. This one just doesn't quite fit in. And I know I've talked about getting with Joe. See, it just kind of, I need to get a wider slip for it, or sheath. And yeah, I know, I've talked about it for I don't know how long. And now this is a kind of a brown burlap micarta version. It's a different number, of course, because it's got the brown micarta, but it's a 2573. Nice, snappy. Now, these don't lock. These don't lock, but they're, you know, they're a lot more stout. They've got a good back spring on them. So these probably get used the next most after this one here. The Rough Riders do after the Camillus. I do. I need to send that to Joe. One of them, I can send one of them to him, and he can make a sheath, and it'll fit both of them. How long have I been talking about that, Joe? A couple years now? Probably. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So they get pocket dropped. They do fine. Now, FW Rose asked about one with a pocket clip. He was interested in one with a pocket clip. Well, this is an Antonyini. This was a very generous gift. Now, it's 440A. You know, from what just looking, that tech empowered by Lion Steel. Right on. It's 440 steel. Now, you do have that safety blade, because this one was kind of intended for first responders. That was kind of the reason this one was made. So you've got that safety blade. It doesn't have a tip. It's partially serrated. It does have a nice sharp edge on it, though. And, of course, you do have the Marlin spike. This one does lock as well. There's your liner lock right there. They're kind of spendy. These are kind of spendy. I looked on one website, and one website, it was like 120 pounds. Another website I looked on, and they're really not websites I'm over. I think Lamnia carries it. I don't think I looked on that one. That's probably one of the little bit more notable overseas sites. eBay, you can check on eBay. But yeah, 120 pounds. That's like, I don't know the conversion, but I think it's like 150, maybe between 150 and $170. One website, it was $220. Which is quite a bit for 440A. I'll be perfectly honest with you. 440A in aluminum handle, 420 on the Marlin spike, as far as the steel goes. But yeah, so a little spendy on that one. That one was a very generous gift, and I am very, very thankful to have it in my collection. That one, it's probably this one the most, then these two, and then probably this one. And those are the ones that do get carried the most. The others, they get carried, just not quite as much. Of course, you got the old timer right here, Marlin spike. This one does lock as well, and you've got your little release. See, press down. Even I can figure that one out. I'm smart enough to figure that one out. Right on. This one's got a wicked tip on it, man. I mean, you get a little, you know what I'm saying? So, this is not only a tool, but it's pretty much a weapon in its own. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but like this one, definitely not as sharp. Definitely not as sharp. None of these are. None of these come quite down to the point as that old timer does. But if you're really working with a lot of rope and need to get in those knots and loosen those knots up, a nice point like that is what you need. Now, I don't use it as much on, untying knots and such. It's mine mostly get used as a shackle key for sure. And then you have a couple of these right here. Stainless steel. These are little budget models. They work. It's got a little blade on it. That's a Maxim. There you go. That's an actual shackle key. If you guys know what I mean by shackle key, that instead of putting the Marlin spike in the hole, you put this around the shackle and pop it open. The only problem is some of the shackles we use don't quite fit in there. So that's why it gets carried. It doesn't get carried a lot. And then, of course, you got a little can opener, too. And then your Marlin spike. This one does not lock as well. This one's got a little lanyard on it. I think I put the lanyard on there practicing my snake knot when I was doing paracord. And then we have another one. This is a two-bladed, right? Yep, two-bladed. I don't remember if there's a brand on this one. Little budget one. Let's see here. There you go. Oil the joints. Remember to oil your joints, guys. There we go. What's that say? Brett Grenfeld? Oh, I can't read it, of course. Come on. All right, let's do this. I need some help, so I'm going to zoom in. Let's see if this will help. There we go. Sheffield. Duh. Sheffield, England. Duh. I mean, come on now. Sheffield, England. Oh, these smaller blades on both of these are really tight. Very tight. Oil your joints. But you've got a little can opener. You do have a little kind of flat edge there. And then, of course, there's your Marlin spike. Definitely not as sharp as the old timer. But, you know, like I said, in all truthfulness, the Marlin spike knife is probably as close to a true and literal EDC knife as I have. I mean, yes, I carry a knife, flashlight, you know, and I've had people say, well, you switch off too much. It's not an EDC. Well, don't be so literal. My goodness. My EDC is a knife, flashlight, pen, small multi-tool, you know, and a hank. That's my EDC. Doesn't matter what knife, what flashlight. It's not quite so direct. You know what I mean? So, but this is more true EDC than anything else. So, FW, there you go, my friend. Those are my Marlin spike knives. And that's what I carry to work with me. And the Marlin spike, of course, I use the blades to cut. You know, if I'm carrying an EDC knife and stuff, a lot of times, sometimes, it's a pass-around knife. So, I try not to hard use those. So, because I don't want to screw up an edge for the next guy. So, you know, sometimes this blade comes into play a little bit more. Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. But that Marlin spike, man. That Marlin spike it's my main, well, it's not my main tool. The knife is my main tool. It's probably my second main tool. So, but I hope that answered your question, my friend. I really appreciate you suggesting the topic. And thank you guys for swinging by and checking out my Marlin spike collection. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. As always, like, subscribe, leave me that comment. You know I love talking to you. Until next time, I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.